Hello and Adab. Many thanks to Face Foundation for having me as a part of the series Hyderabad, the City of Many Stories. I wish all of us are savoring these videos with a cup of Irani chai and Osmania biscuits. Then, if you can, at the moment, think of the smell of a cup of Irani chai. That is amongst one of the many smells that are redolent in the city of Hyderabad. That smell, those smells are from the people, from the place, and from practices that have been in continuum for generations. The smell of our favorite food, to smell from pages in an old book, to smell from new clothes or a newborn baby, from smell of moisture in an old building to the smell of fresh earth just after it rains. Unfamiliar smells from new people and in a new place to very familiar and comforting smells of a lover. Smells are something we associate with very subconsciously, and those fragrances is something that we will talk about and dwell into in the next few minutes. The intangible aspect of smells are visible across different disciplines, across different art forms. They are visible in poetry, they are there in stories, they are also there in paintings. If we observe in the Mughal and the Deccani paintings, we have people always shown in close proximity to a garden, or the king or the queen always holding a flower as if just smelling it. Ittar, the idea of ittar, was introduced to India and further down to Hyderabad by the Mughals. Texts on stories of Hyderabad like Hyderabad ki Sair, or further back texts like Aine Akbari and Tuzuke Jahangiri have descriptions of this practice and ittar as a concept. Traditionally, ittar is made in a beg and the bakka system, which is a still and a receiver. So, botanical natural substances are distilled in a sill, are boiled in a sill, and condensed and received in an oil base, which was originally sandalwood oil, which is now taken to be paraffin wax. There's a difference in between how ittar was traditionally made versus the modern machinery that the ittar makers are using. There is also a difference between ittar as a perfume and the modern perfumes that we use. Attributing to its purity and to its naturalness and being alcohol free, ittar can only be dabbed on the skin or be used in a roll-on, while it's more convenient to a perfume to be sprayed upon. A lot of researches show that in the perfume capital of India, where the streets were full of these copper vessels, the stills and the receivers, the deg and the bakkas, now has reduced to only 0.9% of how much was existing earlier. And this is the statistics from about 5 years ago. Similar researches about statistics and about the people of Hyderabad who are in this industry are yet to happen. While it is important for us to understand how ittar was introduced in the city of Hyderabad, who introduced it, what was the process, how were the traditional processes adapting to the new age requirements, what are these processes, who are doing it, how it is being done. I think it's also very important to understand how the different people are connecting to it. People one who make it and people who also use it. Therefore, 3 years ago, from Akarma and with support from the UNESCO Samapedia Fellowship, we had initiated a small study which had revealed very interesting insights. So, for convenience, we would sort of understand this in 4 aspects. One, the ittar in itself. Two, the city of Hyderabad and the different factors around ittar and the city. Three, the people who are the makers of ittar or the ittarsas. Four, the users of ittar. Ittar are basically essential oils obtained by distillation of flowers, of wood, of earth. It is aromatic. The aromas vary from one oil to another based on what flowers are used, what wood is used, from where is it obtained, in which season was it obtained, who was making it, and so on and so forth. Aromas had always been a part of life, especially in the East. For the followers of Islamic culture, folklores have it in them that all the fragrances on earth have come down from heaven by clinging on to Ibn Sina's hair. For followers of other beliefs, it has always been a part of worship. Fragrances have been used in many different ways. It is used for worship, dabbed on the skin, used on clothes, in food, on furniture. These fragrances subtly travel from a place, an object, to a person and then further traveled with them. So ittar was introduced to Hyderabad by the royal families from Aurangzeb's court. It was adapted by the local elitist families. It soon became a symbol of sophistication. It was already considered sacred and used in worship. Its use slowly started spreading across different areas, and slowly, gradually, the local people of Hyderabad started using it. And eventually, it became, or the use of ittar became a Hyderabadi way of life. Ittar got its patronage from the Nizams. This encouraged a lot of families from Kannauj, Gujarat, and other neighboring places to come to Hyderabad to establish a business.
My grandfather had moved to Hyderabad in 1967 because he found an opportunity of sandalwood over here. He had found an ideal location in Chandulal Baradari colony, Bhadurpura. So we initially, this is a 125-year-old company. In the beginning, we started with distillation of oils like sandalwood, rose, and kevra, and many other essential oils. And he chose this particular location because there was a boiler, and in Hindi you call it bauli. So that is like you have water available, so that you can, which is required for the working of a boiler. So, and he saw this opportunity and he came to Hyderabad. And when we came to Hyderabad, we also saw that the people in Hyderabad, they love perfumes. So, and there was the Mughal over here, like they liked applying perfumes and ether oils. So we saw that and we started creating new creations for the local public over here, and with God's grace, the response was very good. So slowly we have started increasing like our production in the perfumes as well, like ittar and mukhallats, which we call over here.
So the stores in Patargatti are adorned with these shops that have started in the mid and late 18th centuries. The ittar sas, or the generations that have been continuing to be in the same practice, proudly share stories of their associations with the Nizam. The making of fragrances was considered an art, many kings and queens were practicing and exploring different fragrances by involving local families who worked in close association with these patrons, devised formulas for specific scents. And through time, these formulae have become uh, like family secrets, never been penned down, only passed from one generation to another through stories and through word of mouth. And something that makes it extremely fascinating is that these recipes are still held on to by these families, and it's maybe a forever mystery. Something that's very beautiful about this practice of having these secret recipes within the family is that the same perfume smells differently when they come from different families and therefore different stores. So, two stores which are just beside each other have the same perfume which smell differently, the notes are different, their longevity, their feel of having it is different. And this, I think, is also eventually getting dispersed in the modern ways of making perfume, where we are actually having extreme control over the percentage of essential oils that are being mixed together to make a certain perfume. So the first bottle of ittar would smell exactly same as the 10th bottle and exactly same as the 100th bottle on the same day, and it will smell the very same on the 100th day of making the perfume. Whereas in the traditional ways of making, the smell that comes from ittar vary majorly on who picked the raw material, which season it was picked in, from which part of the land it was picked in, the geographical aspects around the raw material, the time or the duration of distillation, patience and the experience of the ittar, time for which it was preserved and how it was preserved, the conditions under which it was transported and how it reaches the decanter are very different, and they would obviously have small changes and small differences from the first bottle to the 10th bottle and to the 100th bottle, and ittar that is made on one day by one particular person will be very different from that which is made maybe by the same person on the 10th day or the very next day. So I think that essence of indigenous essential oils is being slowly changed to having an essential oil that smells the very same and very consistent throughout. Though practices are such that the essential oil from one family almost is the same every day or from every batch, there is still that small difference, which in a machine made process has been changing. Though the culture of using ittar is predominant in the Middle East, Far East, in Pakistan, in India, and in small portions in different parts of the world, the association India has with these aromatic oils go far behind the time when the term ittar was introduced. There are descriptions of aromatic oils in the Vedic texts. There is also archival material that show copper still remains from the Indus Valley civilizations. We have used these aromatic oils in addition to worship, for food, for scented baths, for different occasions, for different festivals. We've used it based on genders. We use it extensively in tobacco-based products or for medicines. Ittar decanters have become a major part of collectibles. In Akarma, we are using ittar to perfume recycled handmade paper. We have friends who are using ittar who dab it on the buttons of hand-woven shirts or on pouches in which they deliver custom jewelry. On a very different tangent, the Sufis use ittar for meditation and to connect to the cosmos. In Hyderabad, it was customary to present guests with ittar on their arrival and on their departure. The use of ittar is only limited by our imagination. So, our journey with tracing these narratives of the people and the fragrance in the city of Hyderabad has been very fascinating. So, in one interview where we would get to know that ittar from Hyderabad is getting exported to Punjab, and the question is, why are we sending it to Punjab from Hyderabad while it is logistically closer to send it from Kannauj? And those answers we find in another interview a few months later, where we get to know that Maharaja of Patiala had initially taken boxes of ittar from Hyderabad back home. It is also very interesting where one ittar sas would say how he had to shift his entire making unit to the outskirts of the city for the facial requirements and other factors. There's another Ritarsas who would say and talk about a very small lab that they have set up in their own residence to explore with these fragrances. Interviews with Ittar users reveal that they have been buying the same Ittar from the same Ittarsas for years, and it's not only them but their fathers and their grandfathers who've been following the same practice, or this person has been following the same practice. There are people who have a growing fondness for these fragrances who go to these shops asking for specific fragrances, therefore motivating the Itarsas to make more and explore more. And there are also people who had been following applying Ittar who now only dab it on themselves for special occasions. There are also people who love the idea of going to an urs, which are basically celebrations in a dargah, and get ittar from the temporary shops set up there. Present day practice has given rise to three kinds of ittar stores. One are these temporary shops in these celebrations. Two are the standalone shops outside a temple or a mosque on specific occasions. Three are these permanent stores in the old city. All of them who very successfully establish the connection with the ittar buyer and who are also successful in establishing the connection between the buyer and the ittar that they are selling, either through stories of the kings and queens or the stories of the people themselves. Studies also reveal how the changes in Hyderabad state in 1956 and further in 1970s have led to dispersion of a common Hyderabadi culture like ittar. But even today, all these ittarsas are ready to cast their smell. As a culmination of our research, we had screened a small documentary along the banks of Musi River with people sitting on the steps of the Asafia Library, now the State Library. People who are the users of ittar, the ittar's makers, the families of ittar makers, the Hyderabadis who have been passionately a part of this project. I'd like to dedicate this presentation to all the Hyderabadis who make time to appreciate the fragrances around them. For India's city of pearls is known for more reasons: the biryani, the charminar, and these scents. We are in process of translating the record of stores marked on the map of the city of Hyderabad to an open source map where all of us can contribute to the study. Hyderabad, with its beautiful tradition of appropriation, make us all Hyderabadi, and therefore is this need to share and contribute collectively to these stories of the city.